If something insane happens, you're going to get to see our live reaction to it. So you got that going for you, which is nice. Maybe the band will be on the field. Ken's in here like, let him try an 87-yarder. Why not? Yeah, sure they did. All right, we'll be with you in 1 second. I promise. We gotta let this play out, and then we'll do the Project Game Day post-game show. We're gonna do it. I promise you, we're gonna do it. We just gotta let this last play of the game play out before we do, and then we can deal with this. Ken's over there. I'm over here.
Hi.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
We're gonna watch this, then we'll do the Project Game Day post-game show, and we'll have some things to talk about on a day that we thought was gonna be far worse, but then we thought might be better, and it's a real bummer how things have gone. Real bummer. I'm sorry. I didn't expect there to be a delay of game and a timeout. I didn't purposely start the show. I didn't purposely short. I promise you that. Here we go. Here we are.
Oh, that's great.
Do this thing. This is fun. Oh, now there's I was waiting for the Rams to cover. All right. Project Game Day post-game show. Ravens lose 20-19 to the Rams, and we will monitor how the Cincinnati-Kansas City thing plays out. You got to point it down at the box. There's a box in the corner. Point it down there. Yeah, 8-13. You got to go to 8-13, and we'll make that work. All right, Project Game Day postgame show is brought to you by Glory Days Grill and Underdog Fantasy Football. They didn't air that game today? I thought they were airing the game. Well, now I feel like a dope. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? We got to talk about this game. We got to talk about this one, Ken. It's what it is.
Wait. What do we got here?
No, stop it. Stop it. Ravens lose, and there's a lot to unpack because it's going to prove to be a very costly loss as far as their playoff hopes are concerned based on other results. The only good news that they're getting today is that the Dolphins will lose, but that doesn't put them ahead of the Dolphins. That just keeps them alive slightly longer in this mess, in this absolute mess of a season.
Unfortunately, the Raiders are going to win.
Yeah, that is that done? They're going to kick a field goal. They're going to win there.
Raiders are going to win. Bengals are going to win. The last 10 minutes have not gone the Ravens'
No, it
way.
certainly have not. Look, this is a weird conversation to have, Ken.
I know.
Because in no world did we expect the Ravens were even going to be terribly competitive with the Rams today. We just didn't see that coming. And yet still, the result ends up being disappointing for a few reasons. The first being, what I worried about at the end of the half is that at the end of the half there was going to come back to bite them in the ass. And it significantly comes back to bite them in the ass. If they just run the clock out at the end of the half, nothing else,
Right.
that's a 4-point difference.
Yeah.
If they score points, which we thought they were going to do, it's more significant than that. Obviously, they lose the game by a single point. Then you have the incredible drive they put together that marches them all the way down, only for them to have to give up and kick a field goal there at the end. And then clearly they get the ball back with a minute left, and they just do absolutely nothing before the game ends. All of those things, we can talk about the fact that Tyler Huntley's still inexperienced. We can talk about the fact that, the offensive line isn't good. You just need one of them to go your way. You just need one of those three things to work out for you, and it's a completely different story. And they went 0 for 3 in those scenarios. They had a disaster before the half ended. They settled for a field goal late, and then they could not move the ball when they got it back with a minute left. They went 0 for 3 in those big scenarios, and, given the fact that they had a chance that they could have turned this thing around, it's a bummer. It's a bummer that despite the fact that we know that the story remains, the big picture story is still they're depleted as hell. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have, all those things. And look, Tyler Huntley, again, today did some nice things, but I think you got a reminder of why it was that you were getting way too carried away about Tyler Huntley.
You mean we're not going to sign Lamar?
It's amazing how when we overreact to the smallest of small sample sizes, sometimes it's absolute nonsense, and we just say ridiculous things for the sake of saying them.
So
with no disrespect to Tyler Huntley
no,
at all.
No,
again,
no.
The appropriate thing to say about him at all times was, this dude is outperforming being an undrafted free agent. This is a guy that's giving himself a chance to stay in this league, and that's an awesome thing. But at no point did we have a realistic sample size that said that Tyler Huntley was even a mid-level starting quarterback in the NFL.
I don't know who the people were this morning as I was on the plane watching the NFL Network, but one of the hosts, she threw this out there to the other three panelists that, with the late Lamar was playing, are the Ravens, if Lamar can go, this is before he was officially out, this is like 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
Are the Ravens better off?
This is the dumb stuff we just say for
So
the
the
sake
three
of
other
saying.
panelists essentially laughed at her. And it's like, come on. Look, I think the Huntley story is a great story. I hope he's the backup quarterback. I actually hope they make him or they put a third-round tender on him, and somebody gives you a third-rounder for him.
Right.
But he's not. In no universe is he can't throw the ball downfield. He just can't. I mean, it's not.
They desperately needed. It's unfair to say he can't, Ken, because we've seen like the Bateman throw a couple weeks ago was very. He can. He's capable of it. It's not an NFL quality.
It's not.
Right.
Yes. He can. They can all throw the ball downfield. It just, you see the limitations. You see some of the decision making. He had an opportunity at one point where, and Lamar's done this as well, so I'm not picking necessarily, but he had an opportunity to pick up the first down with his legs. He threw a ball in the dirt.
Yeah, that was really bad. Yeah.
Look, I'm struggling with this game and this show because, look, we all know what the reality is, and I can't get frustrated with it. They ran the ball better than they have in a long time.
I mean, some of that is skewed by one particularly significant play.
No. But even the last drive, like they were running the ball
a little bit.
I didn't there are things I still don't understand. Like in the last drive that they kicked the field goal because they had the penalty and the sack. Like you were down to the 2. Running power, I'm going to call it a power I, but your power formation, you're running it right up the gut, and then on second down, you decide to spread out. It's like, why go against it? It was working, and it's not like the Rams were changing what they were doing defensively. Their front four is their front four, folks. I mean, they're really good.
Yes.
But if you can get past, I mean, and they were doing that, and then you get to delay a game, which I'm sorry can't happen there, and that's partially on the quarterback. It's also partially on the coaching staff.
100%.
I mean, you gotta you all coaches call timeouts from the sideline. You can't let that happen there. I don't want to hear we were trying to save them in case. No, that situation there was nothing more important than 3rd and 2 from the 2.
No, I don't inherently disagree with somebody. Your buddy Jonathan screaming about that.
I haven't looked at anything.
You're right. That can't happen. Now what? Now where are we? You're right.
I mean,
that can't happen. Now what?
But I don't know, and that's why I'm having a tough time because I thought they'd get blown out today because they can't stop the pass, and they did. I mean, the pick 6 early. It's like, thank God. I mean, my goodness, where's that been? Finally, he caught a ball. But the defense played great today.
I mean, as well as you could possibly fathom.
I'm going to say they played great. For what? We're grading on a curve.
And that's the thing. You'd like it if Patrick Queen doesn't get lost against Cooper Kupp there late in the first half, but I don't like Patrick Queen against Cooper Kupp ever. Of course, to be fair, I don't like much of anyone against Cooper Kupp. Oh man, oh my God, you're falling apart.
But the funny thing is,
you're gonna have to use this for now. We'll deal with it later.
We'll deal with it.
I mean, let's not make it worse than it. There's a lot of chords. Ken, use that.
Okay,
use that.
I spilled.
Ken spilled. He's all worked up.
No,
Ken spilled.
I mean, but that's where we are. I mean, Patrick Queen is on Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's where you are on the defense.
Correct.
Because you have nobody else.
Correct.
And he can run. And look, they played as well as they could play. They got 2 interceptions. They forced a fumble deep in their own territory. They got some pressure today. They had some different blitzes. I would have liked to seen a little bit more pressure. Once you saw that he wasn't handling the pressure, bring it again. It seems like they went a long time without bringing it.
But they also, it's the same story as last week. They also had opportunities to make plays in the backfield, and they didn't.
They didn't, and then some shoddy tackling.
Yeah.
And all the things that we've seen all year. Eventually it comes into play in the game, and still, like, I don't know how upset I can get about.
Yeah, it's a tough. I agree with you. I'm gonna get to your comments here in a second. It's the Project Gameday postgame show. I keep coming back to that. I'm disappointed because they had the opportunity, but it's disappointment. It ain't anger.
No,
it's disappointment because they did have a chance, and because as we talked about this week, this is still a Baltimore Ravens team, and there are a lot of actual Baltimore Ravens that are still involved with it, and they don't tend to be a team that just doesn't show up, that rolls over and says, well, woe is us, we're not going to do it. And they proved that. And because of it, they had their chances. And any one of these individual things that you want to be bothered by, be bothered by them. I mean, like, they all conspired on a day where you had an opportunity, where on a day where you had the chance to pull off a victory you had no business getting that might have gotten you into the playoffs.
Might have.
Now, what that would have done, I don't know, but it might have gotten you there. And so it's a bummer, but that's all I can give you is it's a bummer. I can't get angry about it because they had no business being in this position.
No. And I think that's the right way. I mean, if you look, we can, again, like I said, there are things, once again, that happen that we can get semi-upset about because it's disappointing because they seem to happen often to me. But
what do you mean by that?
Like just the lack of in-game coaching. Like it's been my
it's
thing.
It's such
for
a
long.
nonsense thing to say.
Not.
You're suggesting that they don't. There's plenty of in-game coaching.
Okay. But time clock situation has always been.
Somebody else is screaming about the time clock thing. We gotta cover this.
I'm just saying.
Hang on.
The sideline needs to call timeout there.
It's one play that we're talking about.
I understand that.
This is
it may have been the key play.
Jonathan,
of the
this game came down to clock management at the end. No, it didn't. It came down to the fact that they threw the ball for 4 yards in the middle of the field at the end.
I'm not.
There is one thing related to. I absolutely think somebody should have called a timeout there. Now, in the NFL, it's also a bizarro scenario as to when they're actually going to call the delay of game. So sometimes it's I think we can get the playoff. I don't know why we're not getting the playoff type of situation.
It was such an important situation. I would have. I just, again, I'm not that upset about it. John, look, God bless you, buddy. But I'm not. I'm just not going to get upset because I don't. Again, it is what it is. But what do you want them to do? They're left-handed. They're playing left-handed. That's all I can say to you all. They're playing left-handed. They're doing as well as they did some really nice things today for what they had. I thought the offensive line for the most part against a really good front four held up pretty well. Okay? As the game went on, they got some push.
Villanueva was a problem again today, but I mean, we're beating a dead horse.
We're past
yes,
that.
correct. It's complaining about Alejandro Villanueva is
we said that when he was signed him. I mean, this goes back to the signing, and this can't be Plan A. This is Plan B because Plan A hasn't come around yet.
Colon Castillo certainly held up. The snaps weren't all perfect.
Can I ask a question? And because I was on a plane this morning.
Yeah, you don't really know what the story is with Bradley Bozeman?
No.
I don't fully know what the story is with Bradley Bozeman.
All I know, here's what I know. He wasn't in the game, and then they showed him on the sideline in uniform with a mask on.
And then they alluded to an illness, which, again, if he had tested positive, he wouldn't be there. So,
but even if at this point in the world,
yes, presumably you wouldn't want to have that person around.
If you
other
have
people.
an illness, why is he there?
But it might very well be that they're literally down to this many bodies that
you're an emergency. And
correct.
You're only playing
if this guy gets hurt, we don't have a choice.
It was just weird to me because it's not having the access to the information, and all of a sudden literally turning the game on at 105 and oh, that's interesting. Wait a minute, he's not inactive. What's going on here?
It's weird.
So it's just I figured I'd just ask that as for my personal.
Yeah, look, we'll get to John Harbaugh's postgame here in a minute. Well, let's start going through some of these comments. We'll do our best to separate the just whatever. Richard, crazy question. Why not just let the Rams score? Would have left more time on the clock. Thoughts? I mean, First of all, it wasn't going to be significantly different when they ended up scoring with. They scored with The time at the end was not the problem. The problem was you can't throw the ball 4 yards underneath.
Correct.
You can't do that.
The problem was the third down play where they backed them up. Like if they were just like at the whatever, if it's third and a foot or whatever, or second and a foot, because we were talking about
Yeah, there's a bunch of things you could do. You could try to take the intentional offside.
But then you're trying on fourth down. I mean, they're trying to make a
fourth,
stop.
100% on 4th and 5. You 100% want to try to make that play and get off the field. The next play, they scored a touchdown.
That's my point. They scored the next play. So I don't. Yeah, when there was 1:54 left, we were thinking along the same lines. Totally agree with you. But then the way it played out.
But you can't just not give your defense a chance either. It's something that I know we all think about. You have to allow your defense the opportunity to make that play and end the game.
Why. And they proved why. I mean, look, they were a half a yard away from ending the game right there. So I'm again, could they have? Sure, with 1:54, if they ran a play and
you get the ball back with a minute left and a timeout.
Well,
all you
if
need.
They had scored I'm saying at 1:54.
I understand, but what I'm saying is the problem wasn't the time at the end of the game. You had a minute left, a timeout, and the greatest kicker in the history of football.
3 short, 4-yard passes.
Cannot throw the ball in the middle of the field 4 yards in that situation. You are better off throwing the ball in the dirt in those spots, and that's not. Again, I can only be so critical of Tyler Huntley because he's not actually an NFL quarterback. And I get it. Again, we go back to a lot of you getting carried away about Tyler Huntley. Within reason, there's only so much that you can expect of him. But anyone playing in an NFL game has to know that with 57 seconds left and 1 timeout, you can't throw back-to-back passes 4 yards in the middle of the field.
Correct.
Or you can't be in an NFL game. And I guarantee when Tyler Huntley meets the media, he's going to say that. Yeah. He effed up in that spot. And we like Tyler Huntley, and we want him to be a thing, and all of that. But we as much as you want to be mad about these other things, you can't do that. There was plenty of time at the end of the game. All the time in the world. You just can't do the things they did in those spots.
No, you can't. I agree with you.
Can't do it. Jeff, Huntley is not Lamar. No TDs cost us this game. The defense gave us a great chance today. I mean, among other things, yes. Yeah. Among other things.
I'm going to argue. He's not Lamar. More people need to realize that. More people need to stop saying these ridiculous things all week long because Lamar wasn't going to play and Huntley played a couple of nice games. Look, he should have been drafted.
And some of it, boy, I hate doing this. For the people that were doing this, that work in media, there is an economy now in the media world to just say absurd things for the sake of saying it. I wrote about it this week, right? It's this bit that we do where it doesn't matter if you're right, wrong, just say bombastic things for the sake of saying them. And it's the reason why I'm here and not other places, because I won't join you in that. I will not do it. I'm just not going to be that guy. And if that's what you're looking for, there are plenty of places where you can find it. But at every turn, this has been absurd and, frankly, as I've said before, offensive. It's been I like Tyler Huntley. It's offensive to Lamar Jackson to compare Tyler Huntley to Lamar Jackson. Not because I don't like Tyler Huntley, because it's wildly disrespectful to how insanely good Lamar Jackson has proven to be. As I've said, frankly, it's more disrespectful than what Bill Polian did because we have the answer now. Back then, we didn't actually know.
Right.
A lot of us thought that Lamar Jackson might be good, and we all thought it was absurd for him to say he was a wide receiver. But we didn't know. Now we know, and we're still saying asinine things because we're bothered by 4 weeks of evidence of him struggling against the blitz, because we all need our dessert before we eat our dinner, because we all are children, and the things that happened in the last couple of weeks are the only things that mattered. We have a mountain of evidence about how good Lamar Jackson is, and right now we had a small, tiny bit of evidence that maybe Tyler Huntley was okay. And yet we wanted to say bombastic things. Just don't pay Lamar Jackson. You got Tyler Huntley. And I like Tyler Huntley. But if you don't say he's the greatest of all time, you're disrespectful to him. Mac, how can the coaching staff not call a timeout? It is complete ineptitude. Doesn't one coach keep track of the clock and tell Harbaugh to call a timeout? Yes, you're right. You're right. It's all
I mean,
on.
they should have. Look, I'm not.
Yes,
they should have called a timeout.
I would have liked for them to call a
They
timeout.
should call a timeout.
I think we're also oversimplifying the moment in the when does the actual delay of game get called, and we're pretending like they were still in the huddle when this happened. It also doesn't help that you got a guy playing center that's not your center and a quarterback that's not your quarterback. All of these things conspire, but it's probably all on the coaching staff. All they have ever done is won. Norm, Lamar didn't lead our team to 20 points in any of the last 4 games he played before limping off in the sunset in the 500. You're right, Norm. 100%.
What?
You're right. I mean, this Norm needs his dessert. He can't sit down and eat his meatloaf. He needs to have his ice cream. God forbid you eat your broccoli every now and then. Gotta have our ice cream right now. We'll get you some sprinkles too, Norm. For F's effing sake.
Look, I mean, these are just people that don't like Lamar. Never will like Lamar, and we know why you don't like Lamar, and I'm just going to call you what you are. Because it's just stupid at this point. Stop. Just stop. It's not even about for me, it's not about disrespecting Lamar. It's just you just saying things to say things. Just stop. Just stop. Look, I know I've been accused of saying things to say things.
Yeah, you do it every now and then.
But I'm also consistent in things that I complain about and the things I say. You know, maybe some of it's a bit. We'll find out in a couple weeks. I don't know. But
God's sakes. For God's sake.
Come on.
I can't even read these comments right now. I can't even. All of them.
Did we watch
the
game?
It's all. You guys are embarrassing.
I don't even have it up.
Embarrassing.
I don't even have it up today.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Our local media continues to give Harbs passes and not ask the tough questions. You're right! All of it is John Harbaugh's fault! You figured it out! You genius!
I figured this out 3 years ago, to be fair. It is all of his fault. Should have won 3 Super Bowls by now.
Unreal. You just watched a backup quarterback.
I just don't. Here's the thing, folks.
Ken was playing in the secondary today.
I can't get upset this year. Look, I mean, I've said it. I've complimented him more than I've ever complimented him. I mean, what he's doing and the fact that his team is playing this hard, I mean, that's part of it. That's coaching. Do I still feel he is time clock field challenged as far as coaching a football game? Sure. But stop this year.
By the way,
stop this year.
I have accused John Harbaugh many times of not being his strength. As I've said a billion times, one, it's never any coach's strength. Two, it's also not fully true. It's the thing where we want it to be 100%. We want them to bat 1,000 in these situations. No, it is. To the point that we ignore the fact that they're probably about 85%. It's that we don't like that every now and then they miss a free throw because we think that free throws are always supposed to be made. We overblow because it fits a narrative. We think they're terrible at clock management. They're not. In his first few years, by the way, he was. In his first 4 to 5 years, he was awful in time management. Since that time, he's been not just better than league average, he's probably been more around the 80th percentile. Now, what you're complaining about is it's something as simple as clock management. You truly treat it like a free throw. It's something you should always get. If you miss one, it's a problem.
Yes.
That's the complaint. The complaint is we think there should never be an issue in those situations, which is something we're willing to hold a standard to for whatever reason. John Harbaugh, who clearly does a tremendous job with everything else. But when something happens, when Tyler Huntley decides to throw the ball twice in the middle of the field, we don't come on here and scream about that because we want to like Tyler Huntley.
I want him to play quarterback next week.
I mean, I'd prefer it be Lamar Jackson, no offense. I mean, I'd prefer that to be the case, but I don't have a good feeling about it.
I don't either.
How could I?
But he had a chance.
We just want to scream about John Harbaugh. You're going to get whatever you want out of me. Today, should they call it a timeout? I would have loved for them to have called a timeout. Am I confident that it would have made a difference in this game? I don't know that you can get me to go there. I would have preferred it. I would have liked it.
You know what I would have liked?
What?
I would have liked to try the 80-yard field goal versus the last play that they were at.
F's sake with you. You bring these people. These people don't all show up when Rita's here. You bring them out because you fostered this nonsense. You have fostered this over the years.
I'd say I'm sorry.
Glom on
I'd say
one or two things.
I'd say I'm sorry, but that would be a lie.
God. The Ravens consistently break the huddle with 10 or so seconds on the clock. Do I notice that? I mean, you don't have any math to back that up other than just it seems like something that you're seeing all the time. Do I feel like I'm seeing the same thing? Absolutely.
I feel like I am.
Do I think it has been part and parcel this season with them wanting to shorten games a little bit? Yeah. Does it make any sense when it's coming out of a timeout? No. Of course not. Not whatsoever. Have they gotten the snap off overwhelmingly in the majority of the times they've done that? Yep. 100%. So I don't know what you want me to say here. I'm not sure what you want. We all would have liked them to call a timeout. We all would have liked them not to take a delay of game. Every single one of us have handled that. Bengals won.
Yeah, it wasn't a good day. It doesn't matter now anyway. The Ravens lost. Okay, I mean,
it's sort of what I said.
They're not going. They're not going.
It's sort of what I said this week. We were doing the show one day, and I guess it was Thursday, when Paul said to me, he's like, "Yeah, now we're gonna pick the Broncos-Chargers game where you're gonna be rooting for the Broncos." I'm like, "Man, if the Ravens lose, I'm not. They're gonna be hard pressed to get me to root for anything.
I don't care.
Like, you're just going to be hard pressed.
I'm having a good DFS day on DraftKings. I decided to play this week.
Well, I'm not really a DraftKings guy. You know me. I'm far more of a
I played FanDuel
underdog fantasy football guy.
Well, FanDuel
we like them too, but I like to go there. We like to talk about underdog. Jesus, you're as bad as John Harbaugh right now.
I am?
As you think he is. We want to talk about underdog fantasy football because Project Game Day is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football.
I got a good NBA one going right now.
How are you doing in that?
It just started, so far so good.
Tell me about Underdog Fantasy
Underdog
Football.
Fantasy.
Try to bail yourself out of what you're saying.
No, we know how much I love Underdog Fantasy. You can go to the app at Underdog Fantasy. You can go online, underdogfantasy.com. Best part is if you haven't joined yet, join today and put in the code PRESSBOX. If you deposit $100, you will get matched $100. If you want to put $50, we'll match $50 too, but we won't match $125.
No,
only up to $100.
That's
and here's the best part about it: you're still in Maryland. We love going to the sports book over at Live and placing our bets. But if you can't get there, you could do this from your phone. You could do parlays, player parlays, 2 to 5. Win up to 20 times your money if you hit all 5.
That's what we like.
That's what we like.
UnderdogFantasy.com.
Yes.
Download the Underdog app. Try to settle down over here. I'm looking for a redeemable comment. Aaron, let's focus on getting a better O-line and running game for the next year. Okay, I mean, they have.
Well, they need to. Okay, so let's say that let's the run game.
Yes.
Should handle itself with Dobbins.
They have real players.
And
they
Edmonds back. I mean, the Edmonds.
Edwards. Gus Edwards.
Sorry. Going back to 2016, this was a hell of a backfield. But, I would prefer.
Yes, there certainly are things that are going to. There is an offensive line.
By the way, yes. I think Stanley still is a Raven, right? Although
yes, he is.
I read a lot of things that people wanted him traded.
Another nonsense. They're in a bind related to Ronnie Stanley, where essentially they have to hope that Ronnie Stanley can be Ronnie Stanley again, or something similar to Ronnie Stanley.
Don't they have like 40 picks or something like that?
Yeah, they have a lot of them. That's true. Yes.
So I would suggest that they continue to fortify.
Look,
the offensive line.
I don't know what Juwan James is. I have no idea. I have no idea what he is.
This is not what plan A or B should be.
Well, nothing that look, any criticism of Alejandro Villanueva is 100% warranted and fair.
Oh, I'm not
That's
criticizing.
I'm saying that's the list of criticisms that are fair in relation to this.
Yes.
Them planning on having Alejandro Villanueva represent part of their starting offensive line in any
Yes.
capacity was a problem the moment they announced it was problematic. That's a fair criticism because everyone knew it was a problem.
We did.
Everything else is a series of wild bad luck. To the point, Kevin Zeitler's been excellent.
He has been. It was a great signing.
Kevin Zeitler has proven to be one of the great free agent signings in Ravens history, frankly. We don't really talk about that because
It's a terrific signing.
he's been marvelous. He's been unreal. For the most part, Bradley Bozeman was playing well at center.
He was.
Wasn't, the best center in football,
No.
but he was a high-level center. The left guard thing, none of them have been that good.
No.
We got to be realistic about that. None of them have been that good. And it always was problematic that you thought that a third-round pick might be an answer immediately as a left guard.
Look,
that
I
was
mean,
always a problem.
I mean,
but
the criticism can extend to, besides Villanueva, is that there were lots of ifs and buts. There were some.
I mean,
look,
if you're saying that Ronnie Stanley was an if what you're saying is Ronnie Stanley was an if, so you should have had a better plan.
Bradley Bozeman, although I had all the confidence in the world that coming out.
Right.
I thought he was the top center. When they got him and they moved him to guard, I'm like, what the hell y'all doing? He's top center from college.
Right.
But it was still a question.
I'm not saying it's an if like these other things were.
No.
There was every reason, but it created an if at left guard because of it,
yes,
right? It did create an if there.
Right. There were other opportunities within last year's draft that they could have gone in a different direction and brought in another offensive lineman or two. I think that's a fair criticism based on that they traded one of those picks and they cut the other.
Yeah, but I mean, my God. I mean, the idea that I think that you're getting a player and the irony being there were running backs available that could have helped you. You want to criticize the Ben Mason thing, fine. Specifically when you see that Eli Mitchell was drafted around.
Right.
There were guys that were drafted in that area that ultimately could have helped you. But the world in which you knew that your top three running backs were all going to go down.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you always – the type of team you are, the Ravens should always be drafting – multiple offensive linemen and probably a running back somewhere after.
I don't inherently disagree, but I think if they were putting a fifth-round offensive lineman on the field right now, they'd be F2. Like the notion, again, I don't think that's an actual criticism. I think Villanueva is a criticism because that was a plan.
Yeah.
Somebody you're using a fifth to seventh round pick on is a lottery ticket. That's what it is, and you'd like for more of those to work out for you. I don't disagree,
right?
But that's not fair. It's not fair to criticize a team for their fifth to seventh round draft picks. That's not fair. Come on.
I like my lottery. I guess my criticism is when you have those lotteries, you want to take as many, you want to buy as many get as many lottery tickets as you can. Sometimes and I didn't think they had a great end of the draft in doing that. I didn't think they had lottery tickets.
Man, I don't know. I couldn't tell you if they're lottery tickets or not.
I could have told you Mason wasn't a lottery ticket.
It's fine. I don't feel strongly about Ben Mason, but if Patrick Ricard had gotten hurt during the preseason and you needed somebody to play fullback, you might have had somebody that could play fullback. I don't know. It's a lottery ticket. That's what it is. It's not a fair criticism to criticize lottery tickets.
I'm hoping that with all the picks that they have, that
they have to clean up the offensive line picture for sure. It will most certainly help them to have
pieces in the secondary, pieces on the offensive line, another defensive tackle. I would take a running back somewhere in this draft.
I mean, I'd be surprised if they didn't, but I don't think it's going to be a priority for them.
No, I'm not in the first three rounds, but they have, they have enough picks in the fourth and fifth. That, you should grab one.
I'd be surprised if that were the case. Yeah, all right, John. Jonathan. That was your first good contribution. Glenn, you ripped off your headset. Are you trying to copy Antonio Brown? All right, that's.
I can't wait for this one.
Jeez.
I can't wait to hear about all this.
What?
The Antonio Brown stuff.
Oh, I
can't wait.
Why?
Oh,
I just want him to go away. I just want him to go away. This is the problem. It's not entertaining to me because he's a terrible person.
Yes,
but
it's like
before all the stuff with the
area. I generally like Bruce Arians as a coach.
Yeah, a lot of it changed when he was willing to. I don't feel that way.
But he kind of deserves this.
Yeah, but he got to win a Super Bowl out of it, which is why.
No, but this year he didn't want to. Like, he wasn't going to bring him back until all of his guys got hurt.
Right.
It's like, yeah, well.
No, all of this. Antonio Brown is a bad person who's done terrible things. It's not entertaining to me. This guy shouldn't be in the league.
Well, I think this would be it.
Oh, I'd like to. It's the NFL, bro.
This will be
Josh Gordon got another chance. Josh Gordon's not a bad
different.
person. That's unfair.
Different.
You're right. He's not a bad person.
This is different.
And yes, AJ, some of those lottery tickets do work. That's the point of a lottery ticket. That's the idea.
Mine didn't work out New Year's evening.
My sister got us some Powerball tickets and some scratch-offs. Yeah. And for all of that, for Christmas. And for all of that, we have a $10 scratch-off winner. That's what we have the show for.
There you go.
Which, that's the way these things tend to work. Typically the way things work. Every now and then, you find one that works. For the most part, it's what it is. From Anthony, 100% with you and Ken on this. Hard to be bothered by this. Yes, it's a bummer. But man, how cool was it that we were we're in this up until the last seconds? I'm not giving you that it was. That's the only part I'll push back on, Anthony. I don't think it's.
Yeah, cool's not the right word.
Yeah,
cool's not the right word. For me, it was like, oh my God, they're gonna win this freaking thing, and next week's gonna mean something. Like, okay. It's interesting. Maybe that's the word.
That would have been a lot of fun. It would have been a lot of fun.
Just interesting
to have a game like that.
But you also, I don't know. As I was watching the game, you just know eventually it's like they're playing so well. Eventually, just something was going to happen.
And the part that I said at halftime is I don't know how well they were playing. They're deep. They got 2 plays, kind of changed things to make it look like it was. And as I said then, my feeling about this, if they had gone into the half up 17-0, I would have said, you know what, I don't know, man. I have every reason to believe they're going to win this football game. But the moment that they turned the ball over and the short field turned into a touchdown, I just had a sinking feeling in my stomach that you allowed, you woke them up.
Yes.
And the moment you do, this was going to be what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, they got a break by the game being moved from 4 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Yep.
So, it was funny, you may have heard I do some things in fantasy. Hopefully you played Evans today. I saw I didn't see that till 1 o'clock.
Sure, but thankfully I played Jamar Chase, and so it probably won't much matter.
That probably will take
probably
care of
won't
something.
much matter.
But it's
nice
like
50-point day from Jamar Chase.
Crazy. But like you look up and it's like most people probably today were disappointed in what Cooper Kupp did. That's how good he's been.
Oh yeah, the standard is insane.
Like it's 6 for 95 and a touchdown, and people are like, "Oh my God!" I mean, he didn't catch 10 balls, didn't have 110 yards. I was like, calm down, calm down.
The standard is absurdly high for
so
that
high.
dude. The standard is ridiculously high. All right, we'll come back in. We will look ahead to Pittsburgh. We will do that, and I'll try to calm myself after you guys made me lose my effing mind. Trust me, we would have all liked for them to call a timeout. Pretending like that's the story of this game is what you're doing to fit your narrative, your personal narrative. Could it have been different, perhaps? Could have been. Like the 8 other things that could have been different. There were a bunch of things that could have been different, including they probably should never have really been in the game to begin with, which is the reality. Come back in. It's the Project Gameday postgame show after the Ravens lose to the Rams. Oh, yeah, I guess I need to do this.
The highest quality Pro-Via windows, doors, and siding for all budgets. The best is finally affordable. Call them today for a free in-home consultation at 410-941-3499. They also offer Zoom and FaceTime consultations in an effort to practice social distancing. A proud sponsor of the Tyus Bowser Show, you can find out more at WindowDepotBaltimore.com.
I love driving my tractor trailer, and just like you, I just want to make it to my destination safely. If you drive too closely to my truck, I can't see you, and you can't see what's in front of me. If I have to brake suddenly, our lives can be changed forever. If a truck stops quickly, can you? don't tailgate trucks.
Brought to you by the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The latest issue of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special annual Best of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
From all of the biggest games to the smallest events, make every bet worth your while at MyBookie. Start by doubling your first deposit instantly with MyBookie's first deposit bonus up to $1,000. Double your money before you even place a bet, and all you have to do is sign up and deposit using the exclusive promo code PRESSBOX at mybookie.ag. If your first deposit is $100, MyBookie adds $100 so you can start with $200 to play with. If your first deposit is $1,000, MyBookie adds $1,000 so you can start with $2,000 to play with. With tons of great games and prop bets to take advantage of this week, there is truly something for everyone. Don't wait any longer. Head to MyBookie today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can start winning big today. That's promo code PRESSBOX to receive double your first deposit instantly in your account. No hassle, no wait. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Glory Days Grill's winter seasonal menu is back with comfort classics like their house-made meatloaf and short rib grilled cheese. It also features the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, grilled meatloaf sandwich, smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. All of these items pair well with Devil's Backbone 8-Point IPA or their anniversary IPA brewed by Devil's Backbone. And try their seasonal cocktails, Blood Orange Bourbon Cider, Apple Ginger Mule, and Captain's Hot Cider. Find out more and get your order in today at glorydaysgrill.com. Great food, good sports. Well, we have controversy, Ken. We have controversy. It impacts the entirety of the show that we've done so far. I'm going to need you guys to find video of the delay of game. Tyler Huntley says after the game that he believed the Ravens snapped the ball with 1 second left on the play clock. Quote, I felt like they shorthanded us, unquote. Which is certainly would be controversial if true, but also would make all of you look even worse if that was the case. Because if there was 1 second on the play clock, then obviously there is no world in which they would have been calling a timeout in that spot, because all of that stuff that we talked about would be more important in that situation. Now, nobody seems to have video of it, because who would be clipping video of a delay of game? It's
I'm
just
sure
not something the internet would do.
Going through it,
but I would like for people to try to do that for me to find out if that's the case or not. I would like for someone to just, it doesn't matter for the game, but I would just like to know. I would like to know what the answer, for what it's worth. I would just like to know that. John Harbaugh did essentially the scenario that we talked about with Bradley Bozeman was the scenario, which is that he was sick. He really couldn't play, but they didn't know that for sure until after inactives had already been announced.
Gotcha.
So they just needed somebody to be an emergency, so he stood on the sideline, and in an emergency
would have gone in.
They would have put him in because they would have had no other choice. They would have had no choice in that situation.
That's fine.
It's weird. It's very weird.
Again, it was just noticeable at 1:03. Like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. There's no doubt about that. It's very weird. Tyler Huntley also said the interception late in the first half was a miscommunication.
Looked like it.
Clearly, it was a miscommunication, but
who miscommunicated?
And the problem is, it's very hard. If one guy's been in the league for a few years, the other guy is playing his fourth game, my presumption will remain that it's probably that person's fault, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
And in the end,
I mean, obviously he thought Brown
Right,
was
was
going
going
to
to the
cut off
side,
his,
exactly,
cut
right?
off
Now,
his route.
why he would have been, I don't know. I don't know why that would have been.
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't make sense for Marquise Brown. That doesn't make sense for something for him to be doing in that situation, right? And now I'm not saying it doesn't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
Is all I'm saying.
No.
Project Game Day postgame also brought to you by Live Casino Hotel. We do want you to visit Live Casino. Sports fans, the wait is over. The FanDuel Sportsbook is open at Live Casino Hotel, and it is awesome.
Awesome.
The food's great. The atmosphere is tremendous. They got the self-service kiosks. You don't even have to talk. You don't have to tell anyone else that you're, who it is that you're betting on. You don't. If you've got great shame that you were going to go put money on the Rams this week, you didn't need to tell a single human being that. They've got the self-serve kiosks right there at Live Casino and Hotel. It's just a cool way to spend the night hanging out, watching sports, betting on them as you do it. Right now in Hanover, get there, Live Casino and Hotel. Check out the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook in order to see what they've got going on. All right, so I was sent these. This is the playoff scenarios now as of the moment. As of, obviously games are going on right now. From Joe Ferreira on Twitter.
Okay.
Cleveland would be eliminated with a Chargers win or tie, or if they were to lose or tie tomorrow night. Same thing for Pittsburgh would be eliminated if they lose tomorrow night, or if they tie and the Chargers win or tie. Miami would be eliminated by the Chargers winning or tying. Denver, of course, is out with a loss or a tie or a Pittsburgh win. No matter what happens, the Chargers and the Ravens are still alive going into next week.
Fantastic. That's great news.
And so the dumb guy thing to say would be, well, look, you should be rooting. If you want the Ravens to make the playoffs, you should be rooting for the Broncos right now because the Ravens hold the tiebreaker over the Chargers, and so it would sort of give them a leg up in that situation. But it's just hard to feel it. It's just hard to feel
Does
any
it
of
say
that
what
in the
5
moment.
things they need to happen? For
No,
the Ravens to-
we'll deal with that after tomorrow night.
'Cause I'm sure there's a litany.
because the Pittsburgh-Cleveland result will matter.
Right.
Matter in what it is the
Right.
Ravens need going into the next weekend. That will be relevant. It's
Well,
what it is.
I think they would need Pittsburgh to win, and then they need to win. Right?
Yes, they would need to beat.
So
They would
that-
definitely need Pittsburgh.
To beat Cleveland.
Right. And then they would need to beat Pittsburgh
Correct.
next week,
So-
right? Because
so there's-
Pittsburgh has that tie that
Right.
sort of hangs
Right.
over them at the
Over,
moment.
right.
Correct. So those are all the scenarios, if that's still something that you care about. And I get it.
Hey, they're not eliminated till they're eliminated. It is what it is.
they're gonna be alive. They will be playing a meaningful football game, and it also means that it won't be a night game because their playoff reality will be impacted by others' realities. I just don't understand. They're doing a Saturday doubleheader next week.
That's what I thought. All the games were supposed to be on
That's what
Sunday
it-
all at the same time.
I thought that was the idea. It's the reason why they couldn't do a Sunday night game a couple years ago. There's no way there are 3 games next week that are all not impacted by other things that happen. I guess because it's Saturday, there's a scenario by which neither team would know. Man, I don't know. I have no idea how this is working next week. This is insane, frankly.
I'm looking at the games. I mean, I don't know what games would have no impact
On
one
another
another.
game, right.
I'm looking through it.
It's always been hard enough to find one game that was like division or nothing, right?
I mean, it may be Cincinnati, Cleveland.
Well, Cincinnati's already won the division.
That's
so
true, yeah.
So there's nothing there. I mean, I genuinely don't know.
Could be
I'm not-
Ravens Steelers.
Would you be saying that just because they'd say it's Ben Roethlisberger? There is the scenario, but they wouldn't want to do that. They wouldn't want to do that because the Ravens will be impacted by, no matter what, the Ravens' playoff situation will be impacted by another team.
Dallas Eagles, maybe, for the division if Dallas loses today? I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
either.
know.
I don't know.
But
either.
it's like there's not a lot of
I have no idea how they're doing
there's
this.
not a lot of games.
Oh, and on top of everything else, apparently Drew Lock is out and Brett Rippon is in. So if you're rooting for
that just came across.
if you're rooting for the Broncos,
Yeah,
you're rooting for
the-
Brett Rippon on top of
Brett
everything
Rippon.
else. does not seem like there's going to be much of a chance that the Ravens will get a better result
Guess
today.
my Cortland Sutton
No,
dart
doesn't seem great. Doesn't
with
seem
Judy
great
out is probably not going to go well.
It's what it is, man. It's what we keep. It's what we started with is what we come back to.
These 4:00 games are off to a rousing start.
Oh yeah, why?
There's no scoring whatsoever.
Well, the Chargers scored, so there's that.
That's it.
Well, the other games just started at 4:25. Settle down. Oh, it's 4:45. I didn't realize it was 4:45.
I'm like, some of these games are in the second quarter already.
All right. As we talked about at the beginning, ultimately my takeaway is, yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. They could have won the game. They didn't win the game. There's a bunch of things to point at. I think the big story for everybody else is the sort of come back to earth moment for Tyler Huntley, and it reshapes those of you that were trying to have the wild, like the insane conversations. Some of you might still attempt to do it just because that's who you are, but you're going to be forced to deal with like the actual realities that face the Ravens and not these insane scenarios that you wanted to toss out there. So I think that's going to be the lead story during the course of the week, and the other story will be that they're still technically not eliminated. And, of course, next week will, we believe, be Ben Roethlisberger's final game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. We don't know if it'll be meaningful to them or not. I have talked about this all week, and I'll talk about it again tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow night, I got to be honest with you, I don't know why he plays. Like, why not have your final game be the game in Pittsburgh? Why not, like, let that be the final?
It's fair. It's a fair thought.
Why do you want to come out in front of the Baltimore crowd for a meaningless game in week?
Oh, and by the way,
I guess because it still means something to the Ravens. Maybe as a competitor, you want to do it.
Did you see the dumb like thing going around social media? Like the Ravens fans should give Ben a nice round of applause.
This happened. Greg Gumbel came on my show like 6 weeks ago and suggested that he thinks that Ravens fans are such good football fans that they will do that. And then all of social media melted down and wanted to murder Greg Gumbel because he said that. I'm like, first of all, I actually think he was attempting to it came off awkwardly. I think he was just trying to say, I think that you're good football fans.
He could have just said that.
It's very clear that Ravens fans are not going to do that whatsoever.
No.
Drew and I talked about this the other day. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Ravens attempted to have a video shown at some point, like,
the organization, it would not surprise me.
Thanks for all of the,
good luck in retirement.
Something like that. But the problem is Ben Roethlisberger actually hasn't formally announced that he's retiring. He's trying to drag as much attention out of this as he can.
He's kind of tiptoeing the line.
He says, I never speak in absolutes.
Yeah, it's kind of tiptoeing.
So you can't do it, honestly. Like, even the Ravens can't. Like, if he's not going to announce that he's done, they're not going to do it. They're just going to sort of say, hey, man, we're going to play a football game. It's weird. All of it's weird. You know what's not weird? The seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. It's delicious. They got
terrific.
The comfort classics, like the short rib grilled cheese, the house-made meatloaf, the grilled meatloaf sandwich. Try the smoky thigh wings with the Alabama barbecue sauce. It's all quite tasty. Get your order in. Take it home. GloryDaysGrill.com right now. @Fans Fantasy on Twitter is how you follow Ken. If you're still a psychopath who plays fantasy football into the final week of the season, you have a problem, but he'll join us later on this week on Glenn Clark Radio, and we'll at least...
We could do some DFS stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about that stuff. That's
we'll do
fine.
underdog picks.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
We'll
Exactly
do
what we'll do.
Underdog prop picks.
100%. All right, tomorrow morning, GCR, 10 to noon. We'll talk about it throughout the course of the week. Ravens lose. It's been the Project Game Day postgame show. Thanks for joining us.